Okay, people, Kim Casper from Lunsford Peck CPAs here, reviewing the top 12 mistakes we see made by clients and companies in using workers they believe are safely classified as independent contractors, but who may actually turn out to be reclassified as employees. We are educating you now so you can learn from the mistakes of others before you run into trouble, all right? Okay, so I'm going to go fast here, so pay attention, and you can stop and start the webinar if you hear something you didn't know. Okay, here it goes. Number one mistake we see is failure to simply require a signed W-9 with tax ID number or social security number up front. It is absolutely critical that if you plan to pay a worker as an independent contractor, that you get a W-9 signed prior to paying him or her. Stick to your guns and get the W-9 signed up front. 2. Not having a written contract. This one is inexcusable, yet we see it frequently. Simply failing to have any kind of written agreement for independent contractors. It is a recipe for disaster. Sure, if you hire a plumber for a one-time toilet fix one afternoon and pay him $200, I would not worry that he's an employee. If you pay independent contractors year after year, you better have an agreement in place. 3. Controlling and over-supervising workers. With an independent contractor, you are paying for a product or result. With an employee, you are paying for him to do what you ask, whatever that might be. With employees, you control not only the nature of the work, but the method, manner, and means by which they do it. This control factor is the most overarching of the points I will make here. It is also the most overarching way in which you can end up in trouble with workers you believe are independent contractors, but who might be ruled otherwise. 4. Providing tools and supplies for the job. One of the hallmarks of independent contractors is that they are required to supply their own tools, equipment, and supplies. As with just about everything else in the contractor versus employee characterization realm, this is not dispositive by itself. However, it is certainly something reviewed in making a thumbs up or thumbs down decision. Have them supply required tools and supplies. 5. Reimbursing the contractor's expenses. Another red flag is the extent to which you reimburse workers for their business expenses. If they work late, do you pay for their dinner or taxi? If they need special paper for the report they are producing, do you provide it or reimburse them? There is no bright line saying you can't cover the expenses of an independent contractor, but doing so can suggest the worker is an employee. 6. Paying workers by the hour. How you pay someone is about as fundamental a work variable as you can get, and it can be one of the most fundamental indicators of whether a worker is an employee or an independent contractor. Classically, you pay a contractor for a job, like putting a pool in your backyard, repairing your computer system, or putting in a break room at your office. In contrast, you classically pay employees by the hour or by the week. Be wise. When you have alternatives, paying by the hour can be unwise. 7. Inconsistent forms and documents for workers. The fact that you call someone an independent contractor does not make them so. An employee lounge sign in your office does not mean only employees can go there. The fact that you pay a worker based on a time card and then issue a check and pay stub does not make him an employee. But all these things add up, and sometimes, after all, something is what you call it. Independent contractors should turn in an invoice, not a time card, just to keep it straight. 8. Treating similar workers differently. It is perfectly okay for a business to have some employees and some independent contractors. But it is not okay to have one worker selling shoes on an independent contractor basis and another similarly situated worker doing the same thing as employees. Suppose you have some employee messengers and some independent contract messengers, or salespeople, computer programs, or what have you. The risk of treating people doing the same job differently is that the people you are trying to treat as independent contractors may be reclassified as employees. 9. Requiring workers to set hours. One of the classic signs of employee status is a time clock or 9 to 5 office hours. In contrast, with independent contractors, you should normally pay for the result, not exactly when or how they do it. That does not mean you can't have some control over the hours an independent contractor works. For example, the fact that you tell your building contractor he can't work on your kitchen remodel past 7 p.m. does not make him an employee. Nevertheless, it is surprising how many businesses don't even consider which workers need to be on a set schedule and which workers don't. 10. Prohibiting the worker from working for the competition. Many businesses using independent contractors require full-time work, prohibit competition, or do both. Neither of these points is likely by itself to be dispositive of an independent contractor versus employee characterization battle, but it won't help if you are in the gray area. Focus on what they do for you, not somewhere else. 11. Attempting to do the impossible. If you cannot possibly keep your influence and direction over workers to a minimum, cannot possibly let them come and go as they please, can't allow them to work part-time and for other companies, and can't abide the thought that they may make some of their own decisions, is it realistic to even try to treat them as independent contractors? Probably not. In that situation, even if you apply some of the points noted here, you may be asking for trouble, either immediately or down the road, if you don't just admit it to yourself and face the facts. Remember, hogs sometimes get slaughtered. And last but not least, number 12, not conferring with a professional. If you are concerned about any business decision, please take the time to speak with an attorney or CPA. Paying a good financial or legal advisor who understands labor laws in your state and who advises clients frequently on the exact same issues, like payroll administration, could be the difference between good and bad business practices. Okay, here's my big conclusion. Above all, evaluate what you are trying to do, what is realistic to expect, and whether you or your hired help are being reasonable. Don't make this a static or one-time process. Schedule times to reevaluate your workers, their status, duties, and treatment periodically. The more frequently you do it, the less likely it will be that you have major problems to address. Finally, if you have a question about how to pay or who to employ or pay as a contractor, this is a great opportunity to call your lawyer or CPA, or especially your bookkeeper or payroll expert. This is Kim Casper saying thanks again for watching, and we'll see you again next month for another riveting Lunsford Peck webinar on saving you and making you money the right way in business. Bye-bye now. For further information on how to get help, please call us at 801-225-8474 or email us to request a free consultation at consultation@lunsfordpeck.com.